We are an emergency shelter care facility, and normally we take 27 residents, but for the past year or more, we also want what we call an overflow. And in the overflow, we can take an extra 25 residents. So we can be up to like 55 residents with babies. We take in married men and women, women and children, single women and children, single women, and men and children. We don't take in any single men. And the single women we bring in the shelter part, we only keep like 3 single beds available because we want to stay focused on families.
Right.
With overflow, we don't have we take in whoever we're going to take in.
Yeah.
And we run the overflow just like the shelter, just so you know that now. There's no real difference except for funding. They're both funded separately.
Yeah.
So the funding's a little bit different. When they come in, when they call us, they have to be termed both homeless and emergency. Homeless normally means they've been evicted from their apartment because they can't pay the rent or they won't pay the rent. Sometimes they get in a dispute with a landlord. Landlord wants them out, so they have to get out. Sometimes whoever they're living with either has to move right away, or it's something like Section 8 housing where they shouldn't have been there and they have to leave now. Sometimes there's an argument where they're living with and now they got to go. We're not a battered women's shelter here, so you're not going to see a lot of domestic violence here. We refer those calls to Interval House or something like that. When they, being turned emergency means when they call, they can't have a place to stay. If they have a place to stay, we're not going to take them in. If they don't, like they can't say, oh, I'm being evicted from my apartment on Friday and they're calling on a Wednesday. Well, we wouldn't say we're bringing you in. We'll say you call back Friday after you have nowhere to go. And then we work with you from there.
Is there a specific reason that you do that?
Yeah, because they have to be homeless. If you have a place to stay, you're not homeless.
Okay.
Well,
So they can't, have to call here?
Yeah.
First.
They can show up to the door, but it's harder to do that because we still have to make calls if they show up to the door and they're within the protocol of the overflow. There's you have to call all the other shelters first. If there's no space, then we can work with you. So they still have to do all that. So it's more of a hassle actually to show up than it is to call.
Yeah.
Because they can make calls on their own. If they can't call, our overflow opens normally 6:15, 6:30 p.m. And then we work with them from there. When they come in our 2-week contract. They have to meet with our social worker within 3 days and come up with certain goals. The normal goal is to find an apartment. That's a normal thing that they're doing. Although we do work with mental illness, substance abuse, schooling, things like that. The normal thing is that they have to start looking for an apartment. We have other programs that work with them on that. After the 2 weeks are up, we give them anywhere between 1 and 2 week extensions, depending on how they're doing, how they're working on their goals, what's happening, stuff like that. So we don't have any really restriction on how long they can stay. We do take a big look at it after 3 months, but it doesn't mean that they have to leave. It just means that we have to really be setting something up if not enough is happening after 3 months. And again, we network with all other programs. Right now, we require them to save 75% of their income, whether that's through state aid, work, Social Security, wherever their money's coming from. They have to save 75% of it with us. We keep it in the bank, and they're not allowed to withdraw their money without us knowing. Because we wanted them to have money for security deposit, money to buy furniture, stuff like that by the time they leave. So they can't just spend their money wherever they want.
Yeah.
Well, we allow them to keep a core of their money, but we even watch that. They can't just spend their money. If they need money for diapers, bus tokens, things like that, and we know that they're spending the money frivolously, they may not get it. So we have to look at all that because all that for us is pretty much donated. So we work with them on that, but we even watch that. We also have a life skills program, normally in the evening, where we do things on budgeting, hygiene, anger management, resume writing, interviewing skills, things like that.
Yeah.
And while that's going on, we also run what we call Kids Group. And Kids Group do crafts, movies, activities with the kids, so that they have to be with their parents while they're learning a life skill. So that happens at least once or twice a week. We do have a social worker that works with them on their case management plans and works with all this. They work with the whole situation. Average length of stay, I would say 65 or 70 days now. Some staying shorter, some staying a lot longer, depending on what the situation is, how everything is working, things like that. So, but that's probably around the length of stay. We don't, like I said, we don't put them out at 8. We don't say you leave at 8 and come back at 5. We're 24 hours a day. But they do have to be working on what their plans are. We do have an employment specialist here that works with them, helping them to find jobs, different techniques, different skills, things like that. We also have other programs that deal with both our residents and the community. We have homeless prevention, supportive housing, and we work with CRT as a collaborative on one of the supportive housings where they can stay with them for up to 2 years. Lots of that has to do outside of here, so we don't have just the shelter guests inside of here. We also work with the community, and they come and we work with them, especially homeless prevention. We work with them to try and prevent homelessness, so they don't have to come in here.
Right.
So we're transitioning into more of a transitional place more than emergency, whereas we wouldn't tell them after so many days you have to leave. They can stay as long as they're working with the program, normally until they find an apartment.
Okay.
So we work with that quite a bit. And obviously we have to work with a lot of little kids because we have parents. Probably the average age is probably, I don't know, 25, 26, mom with 2 kids. And we do take in a fair amount of married couples.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the reason is, but we get a lot of people from New York.
Really?
Oh, yeah, we get a lot of people from New York.
So not mainly around this area?
No. We do get people from around the area. I'm not saying when they call us to get in the overflow, they have to be in this area, but they don't have to come from this area. A lot of them, a fair amount of them come from New York. I don't know why.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure what's going on there.
So are you guys governmentally funded or funded?
We're DSS, Department of Social Services funded, and also the United Way. And we get block grants, and we're also funded by Salvation Army themselves.
Do you think that you guys are getting enough like money from the government, or?
Well, you can never have enough.
But a sufficient amount to. You can be honest.
Yeah, it'd be good if you were honest, because that's what we're trying to prove, that the government isn't really.
Yeah, that's our thesis, is that the government is.
As far as I know, because let me put it to you this way. It's hard for me to answer that question real truthfully because I'm the assistant director, but I don't do the budget. I'd probably have to have our director answer that, and she's just too busy.
Residents upstairs, your dinner is now being served. Residents upstairs, your dinner is now being served.
So I wouldn't want to get into really answering that because I don't do, if I did the budget.
I mean, maybe what you personally think. Like, do you think that the government is putting enough effort into helping out, or is it really, are they kind of just.
I think they are.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't be able to do the overflow without the city of Hartford, I know that.
Yeah.
Unless they said yes, there wouldn't be an overflow.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that the city of Hartford works with DSS,
Mm-hmm.
and they have to work together. So, yeah, this wouldn't be here without them. So, but all the pitfalls hard for me to state because I don't really do the budget.
Okay.
So you mentioned how you're trying to help these people find apartments. That's like one of the most common main goals. And do you think that there's enough affordable housing around the area? Because I know a lot of places that are being built are more expensive.
No, that's always going to be an issue.
Yeah.
No. In fact, talk about funding. Not state funding, but federal funding for rapid rehousing was a big thing a couple of years ago, and now it's all being cut. So, no, I wouldn't say there's enough affordable housing. They want to, their goal is at some point do away with shelters so that they all have affordable housing, but I don't see that's ever going to be done.
Yeah.
Because there's too many emergencies. No, you can never have enough affordable housing. Yeah.
Okay.
And that still needs to be worked on.
Do you think that homelessness will, like, do you think that if the economy improves, that the problem of homelessness will decrease?
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the economy was like. I mean, I've been here a lot of years. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what the economy's like. It's always been there. It'll always be there. Working on certain situations, you know, to help them, learning more skills, more affordable housing, that'll all help out. But the economy's never mattered.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. It's we're filled now. We were filled then.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. The economy, there's always people in certain situations that are going to find themselves homeless.